Welcome to Political Star Talk, an enlightened show about astrology, politics, and the betterment of our society. Join your hostesses, Jennie, Sonya, and Sibyl, for an hour in the stars. This is Political Star Talk.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Political Star Talk. You are here with myself, Jennie, and we have Sibyl. Sibyl, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. And we have Sonya. Sonya, how are you doing?
I am doing very well as well.
Excellent. Today we're going to be talking about the fall equinox as well as the full moon in Aries. And at the last half of the show, we'll be talking about the election and the candidates. So we have a full show today, and I am looking forward to it. I'm going to hand it over to Sibyl, and she's going to start us off.
All right. Well, I guess I'll talk just a little bit first about the fall equinox and what that is. So the fall equinox occurs when the sun moves into 0 degrees Libra. All of the equinoxes and solstices fall at the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. And so Libra is about balance. You know, the equinox is the time of the year, both equinoxes. The spring equinox is when the sun and the light are equal, but the light is growing. The fall equinox, the sun and the light are equal, but it's getting darker. We're moving into the darker part of the year. And in Greek mythology, this was the time of Persephone's descent to the underworld. In the darker time of the world in the northern hemisphere. And so in the darker time of the year, people needed each other. It was a harder time. There was a lot of time spent doing inner work. And it was, Libra, is the sign of the other. It's like when things get harder, we need each other, okay? And both are true. We need each other, and in the darkness, there's not as much to do because it's a time to slow down and look within. And Libra is about balance. It's about balance, and it's associated with the goddess Ma'at, and she represents cosmic truth, cosmic law, and balance. And they say in the beginning, the Zeptepi, everything was equal and in balance. And needless to say, things are not in balance now. So during Libra, we often get teachings about showing us where we are out of balance so that we can come back into balance. Okay, so that's one of the teachings. And let's see, what else do I want to say? I think that's pretty much it about the fall equinox. Do you have any questions?
Nope, I like that description.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I feel like it's a time to align our inner truth with cosmic truth. That's what some of the teachings are about. And some of the cosmic truths are like, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Those are things that are forever. They're always true. Our personal truth changes, but our goal is to line up with what is ultimately cosmically true. Okay, nurture life. That is another cosmic truth. Not destruction, not death. We nurture life. That doesn't mean that death isn't a part of the cycle, but a cosmic truth is to nurture life. So now moving into the full moon in Aries, which is going to occur on October 1st. Let's see, I'm not sure what time, 2:05 p.m. Pacific, so you can just add 3 hours to that. And so the sun is in Libra, the moon is in Aries. So once again, it is, these are the two signs that have the most to do with finding balance. Aries is about self, Libra is about other. And so it's that balance between self and other. And I feel like that is part of, what is happening, right now. I feel like so much of what is happening right now is ultimately about how we treat each other. And that Aries moon brings in the key of a personal sovereignty. There is a sense of needing personal sovereignty so that we can treat others well. It's like if we're drowning, it's pretty hard to help another from drowning. So it's so important to take care of our body, take care of our personal needs, make sure that we are strong so that when we do interact with the other, which is Libra, we come from a place of autonomy and don't lose ourselves. And that is the balance here. Libra has that tendency to lose oneself in another. And the shadow side of Aries is being selfish. And so Aries is always about setting boundaries, and his opposite sign, Libra, especially in the context of relationship with others. And so that is always one of the big Libra Aries struggles. Okay. Let's see. Of course, just simply getting into the energy of what is happening now astrologically is just, I've almost just come to believe we're in such a mythic time that there are forces at play that are so much bigger than we are. And our job is to do our own personal work, to stay centered, and to treat others well. And because what I am seeing happening, first off, I just want the astrology is we've got the moon in Aries coming up. The moon is conjunct Chiron. We've got Mars in Aries, conjunct Eris and Black Moon Lilith, all warrior energies in a square to the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter complex of planets that are in Capricorn. And Capricorn, of course, is so much about the governmental institutions and how the halls of power. And Aries is so much about the warrior, the fighter, and I think a really important thing right now is to identify the real enemy, and it's not each other. This is that old saying, united, divided we fall, whatever it is. Divide and conquer, that's a better one, okay? United we stand, divided we fall. And there are so many forces at work causing this division amongst the people, when these really dark forces seem to be gaining power and on many levels. And like I said, it feels almost like a mythic kind of a time. And like someone put out, it's not about collapse, it is about renewal. That as the vibration rises, these things that are no longer in the same vibration as the new energy coming in are falling apart because there is something new happening. But in between time, it's how we treat each other. And I'm going to share 3 incidences lately that I have just found incredibly alarming, and that are personal kinds of things, of how people are turning on each other. Okay, so the first one is something that happened here at my community, and it was okay. What it was a censoring. Someone shared something that the community didn't like, and there was no, she shared information about vaccines with no harmful intent, just wanting to share information, and to her, it was important. Several members of the community were so ferociously unkind to her about this, and telling her she was spreading lies, that they, all of that whole narrative that, this is something, that we just can't even talk about. And I just had to intervene and say, I had to speak up and say, are we censoring people now? Or can we only share what everybody, agrees upon? She has a right to share what she feels is important and to question science. There is no such thing as settled science. Science is about the continuous exploration of the mysteries and continuous learning. You don't just stop and say, okay, this is it. And anyway, but, it worked out well. The second thing that I saw, which was so alarming, is all about censoring. All of it, every bit of it is. This censoring of anybody sharing a different perspective. There, I don't know if you've read this article, but the New York, I'm going to say what my understanding of it is. I believe it was published by the New York Times, and it was a woman who was a yoga teacher from I think she was from Southern California. Basically, talking about how people of the wellness community have fallen basically under the spell of QAnon, and she identified people. She had like a whole list of people that were identified as QAnon. And one of the people on that list, I didn't know the others, but I knew one, and she is not QAnon. And she is a medical doctor who has disagreed with what is happening, with the pandemic. And I'm going to say she walks the edges. I've always liked her because she's a holistic medical doctor, and she walks the edges, and she's willing to look at many different things. And so, someone that I know who's actually, I was shocked, she was a musician, put this out on her page that this woman was QAnon and yada yada, and there was like 250 responses, most of them saying, smearing this woman. And I wrote and said, this is a witch hunt. This is not true. And I feel like anyone who is questioning any kind of narrative is being lumped into QAnon now, whether they are or not. If even one of their beliefs aligns with something that QAnon says, they are automatically QAnon. And this is horrific. It's a witch hunt. And then the third thing that happened was I went on Facebook the other day, and there was a holistic doctor who was being attacked for saying that the flu shot actually impairs your immune system in fighting COVID. And people they were saying they wish he were dead, all of these horrible things. And I just shared my perspective that I do believe the same thing, that the flu shot, it was considered a risk factor for COVID. And now they're saying, oh, no, now you have to get it. Well, I've never been one to take flu shots. I've never believed in them. And so I said something, and this man wrote back to me and said, if you do not have evidence, fact-based evidence for your claims, I'm going to call your work and tell them you're spreading misinformation about vaccines online. That's dangerous. And I don't know whether there's this vigilantism among people to out them as, I feel like we're being manipulated. And I don't know how dangerous QAnon is. It may be, it may not be. But to out people saying they are that when they are not is very dangerous. And for whether this person who responded to me was actually just a citizen vigilante taking it into his own hands, or whether Facebook has become really dangerous and there are narcs out there. And anybody who is questioning anything is, anyway, I'm staying off Facebook now. And so I feel like this new moon is showing us this whole time is all ultimately about how we treat each other. Yes, we have to stand up for ourselves. There's no question about that. But we also have to take care of ourselves and to not lose ourselves in the narrative of, we're on the verge of losing some civil rights. And this is very concerning to me. And as we move into this election time, the astrology, I'm just going to say the astrology is on a mythic level. And I'm almost feeling like, as who was it I heard say this? I can't remember. Are you familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it was a video from him, and what he said was, and it just really hit in my heart as such truth, that, the vibration that is coming in, we are at the end of, and astrologically, we are at the end of so many cycles. Okay. We are at the end of, the very tail end of the age of Pisces going into Aquarius. We are at the very tail end of a 200-year cycle of Saturn and Jupiter meeting every 20 years in Earth signs. They're now moving into air signs, the end of 2020. We are at the end of a 500-year cycle of Saturn and a Saturn-Pluto cycle. And I remember watching a video by Greg Braden, and he talked about these different Earth cycles that we are in, that we are on the end of. There's so many things that are ending now, and there is new energy coming in as we step more deeply into the age of Aquarius. But so what Joe Dispenza actually said was that the vibration that is coming in is new, and it's at a much higher level. It's a much higher vibration, and everything that is not aligned with this vibration is falling away. But that doesn't mean the energy that is falling away is going to go without a fight. You know, and this is really what I feel is happening, and the guidance is all about our own inner light, standing up for our own selves, and how we treat each other, because we're all going through this together. And I feel like even those people that have been blinded and believed so many different things of our government institutions, after this election, they're going to realize the truth of it all. Now, as far as what, like I said, I just feel like it's just on such a mythic level, and it's like the battle of our lives, but it's really the battle for, I feel like we're moving into a time where it's really the battle for our own civil rights, okay? The sovereignty of our own bodies. With this Mars in Aries, and the truth is both, although I have actually come to peace in my own heart about voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because there needs to be some balance. With this death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, things are now even more out of balance, and more balance needs to come in. And so I feel like they bring, even though in no way do I trust everything they say, I do feel like they do bring a sense of balance to the powers that to the Republican incredible power grab. So yeah. So is there anything you want to say or ask at this point?
It's so interesting. I wrote down, I feel like we're, just now when you were talking, I feel like it's an energetic civil war where people who are mostly anger, stress, anxiety, fear are flaring at their highest potential because the heart is coming in, the knowledge, the truth, the awareness. And like you said, it's not going to go lightly. Ego just doesn't sit down and let love take the front seat. It will fight it till it's death, and that's what we need to do, is keep bringing that heart energy to supersede that ego and to flush it out as much as we can. So I do feel like it is a civil war, maybe not quite like the one we had in the 1880s or whatever year it was, but it's an energetic space where it is becoming more and more clear who want to stay in the old paradigm that's not functioning 3D and who wants to move into the 3D. I recommend a 3D. It's so much lighter. It's going to scare those people that are used to the 3D and want to stay in the 3D. It's different. Like Sibyl was saying, these are different. There are changes. Things are moving, and it scares people, and it's going to trigger them.
Yeah, that's a really good analysis, Jennie. I really like that.
Thank you. I've been thinking on this. I feel like it's bubbling. Like I've read a lot about our Civil War. I'm always interested in our history and our past. And I look at the energies of these events, and it feels very similar. It's just not exactly like that arms, in arm with guns going at your brother, so to speak. It's more of an energetic go at your family. I just posted a meme today, and it was like, this black gentleman writes, "Man, I really love white people who hate racists. Man, they're calling out their family at Thanksgiving, calling out their drunk Uncle Joe, and I'm here for it." And I was like, you know what? I'm here for that too. That's what's going to have to happen. No, it's not pleasant, but a stir of the pot is needed, and that's going to ruffle some feathers. Yeah.
And the thing is, we can do it respectfully. It doesn't have to be like you personally did this and, I'm holding you accountable. it is looking at the paradigm and realizing we've all fallen into it. And the most important thing, I think, to recognize is how we're being manipulated by the media. And it is manipulating this divisiveness, this division. And like I said, this turning on each other, I think, is actually the most harmful thing that we can do for each other. These civilian vigilantes calling people out, they don't know. Like a friend of mine pointed out, the New York Times was almost single-handedly responsible for sending us to Iraq. They beat the drums of war and the weapons of mass destruction and, all of this stuff that, got the public behind them because everyone trusted the New York Times. Well, here they are again. They're outing people who are supposedly QAnon. And like I said, I don't know about the others, but this one woman is not. I follow her.
Interesting. The QAnon is taking some heat, and I shared the post because I thought it was an interesting read. There's the group Anonymous, who are underground vigilante hackers who think that QAnon is dangerous enough to start messing with them. And it is a display of what you were talking about, Sibyl, where we don't need to go against each other. We can bring awareness, but you can do it tactfully. Whether or not Anonymous is going to do it tactfully, I don't know. But the idea of going against each other is not helpful. But the idea of bringing awareness within knowledge is, and people do get offended with knowledge. It just happens, and it's common. But as long as we try to stay tactful and heartful and not have attachments to what other people are doing, man, that will help out big time.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what this new moon is a lot about, is bringing that awareness. Yeah. All right, so on to the charts. I'm going to talk just a little bit about Election Day because, it's just, good grief. And the chart that I'm using is 6 a.m. Washington, D.C. chart because I think that's when the polls open. I'm pretty sure that the polls open at 6 a.m., so that's where I put it. And, the thing is, on that day, Mars is retrograde and Mercury has been retrograde and goes direct that day. And I, like so many people, feel that we're not going to know the results right away, that it's going to be some time. And and the thing is on Election Day, Saturn is I'm going to pull up the chart of the United States, okay? All right, let me get this chart of the United States. Here we go. Election Day. Okay. Yeah, there's some interesting things with the chart of the United States and with Donald Trump. In the chart of the United States, the planet Mars is at 21 degrees of Gemini, and it's in a square to Neptune. And Mars-Neptune together often, it's an energy, it's about aligning your will with divine will. But the challenge is to believe that your will is aligned with divine will, and when it isn't, there's a lot of delusion there. So there's the potential for a lot of deception in this kind of an energy. And this Mars, on the day of the election, the transiting north node of the moon, the way forward, is conjunct this Mars, as well as is Donald Trump's Sun North Node conjunction. He's having a nodal return on the day of the election. Well, not on that, in that time period. And it depends on if you use true node or mean node and all of that. But anyway, it's like so close. And so, on one hand, let me come back to that. to just know that piece is going on. So there is that piece of illusion, delusion. I've always felt like Donald Trump is kind of like he's a master of a three-ring circus. He's the master of mayhem. He's the master of illusion, you know. He is a master of illusion. He is a trickster. He has Uranus conjunct his sun North Node, which is a very much of a trickster kind of an energy. So it's and someone who stirs the pot, and you never know what's happening. You know, he keeps things stirred up all the time. It like I said, just constant mayhem. Okay, and on that same day, and I'll come back to his chart, and because he's got a lot more going on, is transiting Saturn is conjunct our natal Pluto, and we're coming into a Pluto return in a couple of years. Saturn and Pluto, you can't get more mythic. We can see their conjunction together in January of 2020 has just been kind of the big energy that has stirred the pot, you know, this year. Saturn's about karma. Saturn brings about karma, and Pluto is transformation, and it's when the transformation, death, and rebirth it is renewal, but the death has to come first. And Saturn and Capricorn are very much about the structures of our world, of our society, our banking, our, you know, all of that, banking, corporate institutions, government, all, and you know, and every institution has their own governmental aspect of it, such as healthcare. And Pluto, when Pluto comes along, like I said, it shows the corruption, okay? And Saturn is karma. So on the day of the election, we have transiting Saturn within a degree of our the chart of our United States natal Pluto, which is at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Saturn is at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And so what we're seeing on a world stage is going to get even deeper for the United States, is what it feels like. There is this, you know, the karma is coming due. And we're going to have a Pluto return in 2022, in 2 years. And so it almost feels like there is this revolution of love that is happening, and hearts opening, and people waking up all over the world. But those who have the power are not going to let it go easily. And the truth of it is this: the structures that have served us no longer do, and they are really at a breaking point. And it feels to me like it may, if Donald Trump wins, which he well may, he'll just accelerate the breakdown. Okay, that's what it feels like. It will accelerate the breakdown. So this new, and to know that our job is to continue building the new on the energetic level, and to build it in our hearts. You know, it's so much about how we treat each other and how we move through these times. I mean, there's just no good way to look at this. And the other piece is, you know, Pluto in the natal chart of the United States is opposite Mercury. And of course, that's Mercury and Pluto together is about speaking truth to power, about having a strong voice, but also comes in all of the fear that comes along with that. You know, those who speak up, you know, there can be consequences. And we may be going into a period where there are more consequences, more censoring, and to really be aware of that of our First Amendment rights. You know, it just kind of what it feels to me like is that this is a place where we have the potential to go. Now, on Election Day itself, let me go back to that. Okay, I've got my charts up here. Here we go. Like I talked about, the north node of the moon at 21 degrees Gemini is conjunct Donald Trump's sun at 22 degrees of Gemini, and his north node at 20 degrees of Gemini. They have Uranus is at 17 degrees of Gemini, so it's also in play. So it's kind of like anything can happen because of that Uranus. But I'm going to say it looks like there is a fulfilling of his dharma. Now, whether or not his dharma is to be president or his dharma is that he has done all he can, that he has stirred things up to the point of they are where they are now and he's done. I don't know. The other piece is that he has got that the Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn conjunction opposing his natal Saturn, and that is so much about karma. I mean, once again, it's like his. It's a really, really difficult aspect, and Venus is in there as well. It may be during this time that something about his finances becomes made known, that maybe he's been involved in money laundering and it actually does come to the surface and, involved with the criminal element. I mean, who knows? But he's got really good stuff and really bad stuff, Whatever it is, it's a fulfillment of his dharma. And, it could be that he's fulfilled it and he's starting a new cycle and that now's the time for the fallout. But it could be that he is, his dharma is to continue the ruckus, because by progression, he also has Uranus on his ascendant, his Uranus North Node. So, and another possibility is that I have brought in before is that, as that one astrologer said, that in the years of the inauguration day, if the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is in effect, that person does not complete their 4-year presidency, either through illness or through assassination. And, Donald Trump could have a heart attack. He seriously could. His health is so bad. He could get elected and then have a heart attack. And then, of course, would have Mike Pence, which is another, whole thing. And I'm going to say, too, there is the potential for violence because on Inauguration Day, the sun is conjunct Saturn, that the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius, but it's also in a square to Mars-Uranus, which is in Taurus, which is very volatile. It's a very, very volatile aspect. So I'm just going to say with Donald Trump, it's still, to me, just totally up in the air. We'll look next time at the charts of Biden and Kamala Harris, and I'm just going to say now, Joe Biden just does not have a lot going on astrologically, but Kamala Harris does, and she's got some incredibly wonderful stuff as well as some really challenging stuff. So, it just feels like to me this is a mythic battle, and for each person to look into their own hearts, because that's what this is really about. As within, so without, and looking to, this piece of blind hatred that people are starting to have been carrying around, and I'm going to say on both sides, is creating this world of distrust and turning on each other. And like I said, the people that I have seen turning are my own liberal friends, which has been shocking to me because I'm not really in the conservative community, so I don't know what's happening there, but I'm seeing my liberal friends turn on each other. And it's pretty disheartening. And,
Have you ever seen the movie Kingsman?
I haven't.
Okay, there's a scene, and it's interesting because, it ties into it doesn't really tie into 5G, but it'll put you in the mind of it. Anyway, Samuel L. Jackson, it's Kingsman, it's about British Secret Service or something to that extent. But there is a scene in which people begin turning on each other because what Samuel L. Jackson was this owner or CEO of this major technology conglomerate that included cell phones, and he gave out free SIM chips for everyone's phone. Well, once everyone had the phone, he manipulated the frequency, and it made everyone become violent. and they turned against each other, and they did like this the little experiment where all these people were in the church, and they manipulated the frequency in their chip and for everyone that was inside this church, and they all turned on each other and had no idea. I mean, and it was a bloody scene, but it puts me in the mind of that when you keep saying that, how people are turning on each other, and it's to be expected if you are resonating at that frequency level. Okay, sorry I interrupted.
Oh no, Sonya, thank you so much for that, because of course that is one of the fears of this Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. Aquarius rules technology. And so what direction will we take it? I mean, there is the potential for humane technology, but will it go into a more controlling kind of technology, So absolutely, I mean, they're already chipping people in West Africa and India.
And Florida.
And Florida too? Oh my God.
Yeah, it had to do, this was a while ago, but it had to do with, I want to say they were either starting with a child or someone, some older person that had like dementia, and it was a way of keeping up with them. That's how that's how it's going to get accepted into mainstream. Is there's going to be this need that you can't live without. So of course you can sell it when you talk about losing children, lost children. And of course, with everything that's going on in terms of sex slavery and, children being abducted and things like that, of course, parents would buy into that. And then you have the opposite end where you have parents with dementia and things of that nature who wanders off and, and then, they chip them. So it's already happening.
Elon Musk is playing with that. I think my boyfriend we were sitting at the breakfast table the other day, and he's like, Elon's playing with brain chips. And I'm like, sweet Jesus, here we go. And just this is segueing into what I had written down to talk about next. Have either of you watched, and I've only watched half of it, so I don't know everything about it, The Social Dilemma? It's a Netflix program.
Yes, I saw it.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen. I've never heard of it. The Social Dilemma.
Right. Yeah, you'll like that, Sonia. You'll like that one.
It's very much about how we're being manipulated by the media and high tech and surveillance and how they're watching everything we do. But the main thing, one of the things he said, have you often wondered why people who have an opposing view to yours, how they can believe that? And you've got all this information to show them. Well, because they're not getting the same information as you. There are two streams of information coming in, and they know who their audiences are, and they are stirring the pot. And so, yes, and so like a friend of mine who is a Trump supporter, I said, well, what has he ever done? She sent me a whole list of things that he supposedly has done. Whether or not it's true, I didn't follow the thread, but I mean, they believe that people who are watching, who has a different philosophical perspective, they are getting different information than we are. And how can we be so sure that our information is true? We believe theirs is not true, but how can we believe ours is true? I remember one time I used to go to CNN Europe, and for some reason, I know what it was. For some reason, I landed there accidentally, and I started reading it, and it was so different than the information that CNN was giving to their American audiences. It was so much more, I'm going to say balanced. It was so much more just the news without the political spin and perspective. I was shocked. And so I started going there to actually get the news and not the opinion.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a meme on Facebook that had like 10, I think it might have been Newsweek or something of that nature magazine, and all of the countries, they listed Africa, places in Europe, this is what their cover looked like. And it was pertinent information about serious matters. And ours was like, yay, football, college this weekend or something, which football and college is very important to a lot of people. But I think that the point they were trying to make is a lot of people are getting that raw truth where ours is being manipulated and sidelined to what they want us to think about. Now, are theirs too being manipulated? I'm sure on some level. You're hard-pressed to get a human ego that, when is in control, can handle it. That's why it's always good to have checks and balances. And I think we've gotten to a point where the rich have climbed so far to the top, there's no checks and balances anymore.
I think one of the things, though, regarding American media is the American citizens, whatever you want to call them, are under the impression that they have free thought. You know what I mean? That, you know, that they aren't being manipulated, that this isn't state TV. No, it's not state TV, but, 95% of all media is owned by 6 corporations. It is state TV. It's just owned by corporations. I mean, so it is groupthink. It is propaganda. It is, this is the message we want to deliver to you, and they know which vein to pick it in now. It's even easier with whether it's CNN or Fox, well, who do you identify with? They know how to cater the message. It's the same way, and it's the same way online when people's like, I don't understand how they know I do this. Listen, all of these are algorithms. Everything is systemic now. This is, they're not invading your space or privacy. Not that I keep saying privacy is a misnomer anyway. There's no such thing as privacy. So get over that. Now we dig into it because of the whole conspiracy thing, but once from a spiritual perspective, once you recognize there is no such thing as privacy, how could there be? There is no privacy in consciousness. There is no separation. It's all an illusion. Anyway, I digress, ladies.
No, that Social Dilemma show really hits on what you just said, where it was like, it knows how long you stay and look at ads. It knows what you click on. It knows how much time you have spent studying certain topics. I mean, I'm a business person. I've been a business person since I've been 12 years old, and I like target marketing, but this has taken it way too far. And like I've seen a meme say, they're not trying to take control of you. They have it, and you bought it for $1,000. It's probably in your hand right now. It's a phone, and they can track everything. And again, that's helpful if the person who's tracking you has good intentions. Like, oh, I want to find all the people that are interested in shamanic work. Yay, let's find them. No, they're doing it manipulatively so that they can shove sales down your throat. It's capitalism at its worst.
Well, that's only one component. That's the most superficial component, is capitalism, is marketing, is consumerism. But as Sibyl talks about, this is all about energy manipulation. All about it.
It's mind control is what it is.
Yeah.
We're in mind control. And we have on the chart of the United States, we have a Mercury-Pluto opposition. That is an indicator of this mind control that has actually always been part of it's part of the blueprint of our chart. That is the potential. That doesn't mean that has to happen. It can also mean that having powerful voices, speaking truth to power, that we have set up the First Amendment to be able to have that. But the shadow side of this aspect is always about the manipulation of our thought. And it's really coming in now with these huge planetary energies activating it. So, but the thing is, as we become aware that there is an attempt to control our minds, we can meet it. We can meet it forcefully for ourselves to not fall into that. And the thing is, the digitalization, like that movie. I mean, that's not science fiction. I mean, that's what's
that's what's happening. Right.
Yeah. And just so you know, the situation in Africa is that if this is West Africa, the poor and only the poor are being forced. It's mandatory that they be chipped, and the organization is the Bill Gates Foundation, combined with MasterCard. It's about finances, because the other piece, of course, is the digital economy and controlling of our finances. controlling of our money. And there's a third company involved, and I can't remember who the third company is. But this is, and what they're saying is because the poor can't manage their own finances, that the government's going to come in and they're going to be chipped. And they'll have all their health records, all of their finances, and they'll be completely controlled. And it's going to be mandatory for the poor.
Wow. It's very interesting. I looked at Elon Musk's energy, and I'm like, wow, he's sitting pretty heavy in the ego. And I feel the same way about Bill Gates. And when you say stuff like that, it just reassures how I'm reading the energy. What is this, a certain part of Africa, or?
Yeah, West Africa, like Ghana. I can't remember the countries, but I remember West Africa. There's several countries: Ghana, Nigeria. What is it? Ivory Coast, Niger. I don't remember all the countries that are considered West Africa, but those are some of the countries that are there.
Wow.
Right. And of course, in India, they've chipped a whole lot of the population. Not a whole lot, excuse me. They have chipped a percentage of the population. What I read was that it was voluntary, and then somebody else said, coerced voluntarily. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't do it, this will happen, is what someone said. So, and I didn't really follow up on that. But it's important to know that this is on the table. And like people are saying, what are all of those, those satellites, those 5G satellites that doing up there now? Just so everybody can download a video, instead of, 6 seconds instead of 16 seconds. No, and you have, and 5G has to have a host. It has to have a receiver, whether it's your phone or whether it's a chip in you.
Oh boy, the future is here. It's all those books and movies that were made that were warning us. Ladies, we're going to run to a quick commercial and we'll be back with the last part of our show.
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, tune in and tune up. Body Awareness and Self-Care, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, One for All is Love, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Green Witch Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Third Eye Political Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody. You're here with myself, Jennie McDaniel, and we have the beautiful Sibyl Star as well as the beautiful Sonya Spirit, and we are Political Star Talk. As the man said, we are currently on the Third Eye Political Radio Podcast Network, but be sure to check out our sister station, Heart Over Ego Radio. We have a conglomerate of shows over there. If you want to go to any major podcast app, search Heart Over Ego Radio and Third Eye Political Radio to find all that we have to offer. So, ladies, we have about 13 minutes left. What do you guys think we should fill the time with? What do you guys want to talk about? Anything sitting heavy with you?
Let's see. No, not really. I mean, there's a lot going on, but not really. I did want to ask Sibyl about, is there something about Mercury going retrograde or seeing its shadow today? What does that mean, if it means anything?
Oh, let me look. Let me get my book and see.
Right.
My apologies.
Did you see that on the internet?
Well, it's going retrograde, but let me see if we're in the shadow yet, and I'll tell you when Mercury goes retrograde. Right.
Yeah, I receive a email. I have received emails. Like one of my classmates, she does astrology, so I'm on her email list, and she'll say, "Oh, Mercury is entering his shadow today."
Yes, Mercury is in the shadow. Mercury has been in. Let me see. Mercury Yeah. 25. Let's see, today. Yep. Today's the day Mercury enters the shadow. He actually goes retrograde on the 15th of October and goes direct on Election Day, November 3rd. And it's in Scorpio. And, well, when it goes retrograde, it's in Scorpio. And Mercury, and it's also opposite Uranus when it goes retrograde. So there is that Mercury in Scorpio can kind of is the kind of energy that's like a detective, kind of looking between the rocks, looking under the rocks, like what's happening. And Uranus is so let's just say this. And there's also a full moon right before the election. On Halloween, like somebody said, what was it? What was on March 13th? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, so Mercury opposite Uranus Uranus is the trickster. Uranus, anything can happen. And Mercury opposite Uranus right before the election, there might be some secrets that become known, put it that way. Kind of like the veil leading up to it, and the thing is, people need to be able to say what they see, and to not make excuses, to not say, oh, that's not true. It's like the truth is being revealed. There's some intense truths have the potential to be revealed, and Uranus is about twists and turns and things you don't expect. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's really strong. And it's going to be, and the full moon is conjunct Uranus at 8 degrees of Taurus, opposite the sun at 8 degrees of Taurus, 8 degrees of Scorpio on October 31st. And we're still in that energy at the election. So once again, it feels like there is, and the other thing is weather. This also could indicate, it may indicate some weather that upends everything.
What do you mean?
Well, some Mother Earth may also get involved in this drama.
Got it. So a hurricane or two or something like that?
Yeah, unexpected weather events that may interfere with the election.
That now, though. I mean, yeah, so it wouldn't be surprising because there have been so many tropical storms, hurricanes, the wildfires. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it got worse before it got better.
Yeah, and it may be that, like I said, that it is so bad that it absolutely interferes with the election in some level.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it certainly has that potential. Because, Mars doesn't go direct until the 14th of November, and that feels like more of our direction forward when Mars goes direct. It feels like when Mars starts going direct, and then when we have this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on December 21st, that I feel like, just like with Sonya, I feel like that's really... there's still much political stuff to talk about because it's going on. But I guess, Jennie, for you, the question is whether to have it on which station is actually better to have it on. But the energy is still going on. It's still intense. It's not going to lighten up.
Well, if the political station is, if that one's going away, I think it would still tie in well to Heart Over Ego Radio, because then we could provide, and because we do it anyway, we could provide, the spiritual tie-in, the uplifting, because a lot of it is so doom and gloom. You can't watch the news. You cannot watch the news with for like 5 minutes, and it's like, oh my gosh, I need an antidepressant. It's that bad.
It's like 10 a.m. and I'm looking for my martini shaker, Yes. Sweet God, this is not good.
Yes. I mean, it's horrible. I skip a couple of days of the news. I come back, we're over 200,000 dead from the COVID virus. It's like, oh my gosh, this is just, I don't want to say it's too much or overwhelming, because from a spiritual standpoint, all of this shall pass. This is supposed to occur. This is, it's a reflection of our collective consciousness, which is something else we've discussed. Even though we're talking about politics, even though we're talking about the universe and the cosmos and astrology, everything is so connected. So it really doesn't matter which station we're on because we can make it work.
We're a little bit of both, and either or could work. And
yes,
I'm really glad we're just covering politics from a spiritual space, because there's not a lot of that. And when my teacher brought this to my attention over a year and a half ago, or about a year and a half ago, he said, is anyone going to do a political show? And I was like, no, none of us are really into politics. But then it started to dawn on me that, well, because not many of us go into it because it's too heavy for us or whatever reason, that means we should, and there's a call for it. So here we are doing political and spiritual and merging them together quite beautifully, if I may say so myself. Whether we're on a spiritual network or a political network, we're always going to be under both categories, because if we go to the spiritual network, I can just put our podcast when I upload it under progressive politics so that both angles can get it. So we'll be fishing in both ponds as we should. If people are really looking for that balance between the two spaces, I think that our table has a nice spread for them. So ladies, I know we've talked about it before. We'll spend the last couple minutes because it's a really fun topic. We've talked about it before. I feel like all three of us might be sitting on the side of feeling energetically that Biden might take the cake. Do we still feel that way?
Well, okay. I was going to say, I'm sure Sibyl feels a lot more stronger energy, but this is my opinion. It would not surprise me if Trump stole the election again, because he's made it perfectly clear that he's not giving up without a fight. He stole it in 2016. He has not, he's very transparent. So, and he's made it crystal clear that he will challenge anything that basically is going to dethrone him, so to speak. So, I mean, from a voting standpoint, yes, I believe that they would probably receive the popular vote. But I don't know how this is going to transpire in terms of, because this man is not going to give up. And, they have allowed him to get away with so much thus far. It's like frogs in a boiling pot of water. How do you cook them? Slowly. You you put it on low and you let the temperature boil slowly before they know they're all cooked. And I feel like that's what we are in this pot. Anyway, go ahead, Sibyl.
I absolutely agree with everything you say, Sonya. And I also feel like Kamala Harris's chart is so strong that there is a sliver of hope there. But I do feel like the energy absolutely kind of falls in Trump's court. But Kamala Harris is very strong. She, like I say, I wish she had been the head of the ticket. But I know a lot of people, have shared a different wisdom, But I really think if she had been the head of the ticket, astrologically, it would still be a toss-up, but it would be a much better chance.
Because she has all that fire in her chart, you said, her action.
Her chart's just rocking. I mean, her time. This is her time, and she's come to fight.
Well, and I think, part of her background as a California Attorney General will aid when all the chicanery begins. So I think that will aid as well, because like you said, her energy is on fire. She's not going to take this lying down.
Right. She's not. If there's any discrepancy, she's going to be in there fighting it. Mm-hmm. Joe might not be, but she will be.
Yeah, Joe can barely prop himself up at the microphone, but that's another story.
I know. That's
he has his good days, and other days it's like you're trying to give him some of your energy. Here, take this. You can do it. We're almost through it.
Yeah. So and I would have loved to seen a debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
Oh my God, pay good money. I'd pay concert tickets money to see that pay-per-view even in my house. That would be great.
But
well, ladies, we're at the end of the show. It always goes so quickly. We never have enough time, but we will be back in a couple weeks. This is Political Star Talk, and you're here with Jennie, Sonya, and Sibyl. If you want to hear any of our archived episodes, simply either go to Blog Talk Radio and look up Third Eye Political Radio, or go to any major podcast app and search Third Eye Political Radio. While you're in there, search our sister station, Heart Over Ego Radio, and you'll get a earful from both sides, no doubt. Ladies,
and you can catch One for All is Loved today at 4:30.
At Heart Over Ego Radio. You can check Sonia's show today. Do you want to give us the time and the title again?
One for All is Love, and it is today at 4:30 Eastern Time, 1:30 Mountain Standard, and Pacific Daytime.
There you go. Until next time, everyone have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.